多謝同事。
Thank you for your attendance. It's the appointed time and we have a quorum. I first of all ask members to confirm the minutes of meetings on the 21st of March 2015, which is CB bracket 1855/14 to 15, and the meeting held on the 14th of April this year, number CB bracket 1883/14 to 15. We have not received any proposals for amendment. Any questions? No. Minutes confirmed. Information papers issued since last meeting. They are the Land Registry Statistics and a letter dated the 5th of May from Dr. Fernando CHEUNG on the rehousing policy for tenants affected by the enforcement actions to eradicate subdivided units in industrial buildings. Items for discussion at the next meeting, there are a number of them. Please refer to paper CB bracket 1884/14 to 15 bracket 02. And there is also a bracket 01. There are a number of letters. One is from me and Mr. Wong Kok-king and Mr. Kwok Wai-keung, expressing concern about illegal refinancing of HOS flats with unpaid premium. The next meeting will take place on the 6th of July at 2:30. And these are the items proposed for discussion. First, performance of the environmental targets and initiatives of the Hong Kong Housing Authority in 2014-15, progress of the total maintenance scheme and enforcement actions taken against subdivided units in industrial buildings and the rehousing arrangements, and the suggestions on provision of transitional housing. If you have no problem, these will be the items to be discussed in the next meeting. And there are also a number of papers. There is one that I just mentioned from me, Mr. Wong Kok-king and Mr. Kwok Wai-keung, asking the administration to come to talk about illegal refinancing of HOS flats. The administration has given us a response paper tabled, and they said that they have responded on a number of occasions, and there will be a meeting in the LegCo, so they don't think that it's necessary to have another discussion in this panel. Mr. K.K. Fung and Mr. Kwok Wai-keung has sent us letters in relation to suggestions of adding an item for discussion related to the design and size of PRH units. So, should these be put on the list of outstanding items for discussion, or shall we add this item to the agenda in July? First, Mr. Leung Yiu-chung, about the refinancing of HOS flats with unpaid premium is a very serious problem, because there are some finance institutions that haven't been doing things properly. They have been issuing publicity and advertisement materials, trying to get some business. And I know that if you want to obtain a proper loan, it will take a very long time. So there is need for improvement, and since the situation is quite serious, I asked this item to be discussed as soon as possible. And in relation to the size of PRH units, given the fact that there will be new PRH blocks or estates being completed, and there will be existing PRH estates being redeveloped, I think the size of PRH units itself is another serious issue, and they should be discussed as soon as possible. So I think that it should be put in the next regular meeting. And for the issues you mentioned previously, perhaps there is no urgency and it can be postponed. So you're talking about the environmental targets and initiatives, and also progress of the total maintenance scheme, and they have to be replaced with these two issues. Yes. These two are not pressing issues, and I think they can be handled after the summer recess. And that is in relation to the total maintenance scheme, and the same applies to the environmental targets and initiatives. Mr. Kwok Hai-kang, about the size of PRH units of the new PRH estates from the Pak Tin estate. Well, in relation to the progress of redevelopment of Pak Tin estate, if we decide on the size and design of the PRH units, I think it will be conducive to its completion. So I think that in relation to the environmental targets and initiatives, if there is no new information, I believe the administration can inform us by way of circulation. From my recollection, we talk about this issue every year, and it seems that the information is more or less the same every year. Can you maybe juggle the order and let us deal with these more urgent issues? Well, there are already 3. If we add 2, there'll be 5. Perhaps I will liaise with the administration. Hopefully, we will be able to have a discussion on the 2 items members just suggested, and you will be informed of the result. Next item is Head 711 projects. One is the footbridge link at Saoming Road, Kwun Tong, and the other one is a PTI, public transport interchange at Pak Wen Street, Sham Shui Po. And there are 2 sets of papers, CB bracket 1884/4015 bracket 03 and bracket 04. I welcome the administration. Let me remind members that in relation to the discussion items today, if there is any direct or indirect pecuniary interest, please declare the interest in accordance with the Rules of Procedure 83A. And please do so before you start your discussion. And I'd like to draw your attention to the relevant rules and regulations in relation to voting on items with direct pecuniary interest under Rule 84. Who is to take us through the paper? Ms. Feng.
係主席女士、各位委員，大家下午好。
Good afternoon, everyone. We're here to present to you 2 projects. They are B177TB, that is footbridge link at Saoming Road, and B083TI, the PTI at Pak Wen Street, Sham Shui Po. We seek members' support on our proposals to upgrade B177TB and B083T1 to Cat A. To support the public housing development at Saoming Road and the new community hall, and the public housing development at Pak Tin Estate. First of all, let me present to you the footbridge link at Saoming Road, Kwun Tong. We propose to build a covered footbridge of approximately 30 meters long and about 25 meters wide, connecting Saoming Road and Chiu-hung Street. You can see it here. This is to build a 30-meter covered footbridge and a construction of a lift tower with 3 passenger lifts, together with ancillary works including drainage, water connection, landscaping, and electrical and mechanical works. And this is to supplement the comprehensive development and a public housing estate in that area. Under the housing development, there will be 320 flats for a population of around 670 people. We have consulted the PWSC, and we have got the agreement of the Finance Committee to upgrade the community hall to Cat A. And there is a great difference of 34 meters from Saoming Road and Chiu-hung Street. In order to facilitate pedestrian movement, we need to build a footbridge link. The proposed footbridge link will also facilitate pedestrian going southways to Kwun Tong Town Centre and northward to the Anderson Road developments. Because of the size restrictions, well, this has to tie in with the Sao Ming Road PRH development. So we plan to ask the housing authority to take up the project as well in order to get better coordination. Once its work is finished, the site will be handed over to the relevant departments for management and maintenance.
已經就呢個建議工程
We have already consulted the Transport and Traffic Committee of the District Council, and members are in support of this project. Also, we have also gazetted the proposed work under the Roads Works Use and Compensation Ordinance and have received no objection. We also estimate that the capital cost of the project will be $131.1 million in money of the day prices. If we have the support of members, then we will submit this project to the PWSC and the FC for approval. Once funding is approved by the FC, the project will start early next year, and it is anticipated that it will be completed by the end of 2017. Next, I would like to walk members through the second item, which is B083T1. We propose to build a public transport interchange, which includes a covered public transport interchange with 6 bays for franchise buses and green minibuses. And this is the PTI. We will build a covered public transport interchange with 6 bays for franchise buses and green minibuses, and also associated works for the PTI, including plumbing, drainage, public lighting facilities, fire services, ventilation, electrical and mechanical systems. At Park 1 Street, there is an open-air PTI. We need to vacate existing PTI to provide land for the construction of 2 public housing domestic blocks, and that's why we need to. I think the vacated land will provide for 1,100 flats for a population of about 3,370 as part of the public housing development program. To provide continuous service of the existing PTI for the franchise buses and mini buses, we propose to construct a new PTI at the southern section of Park 1 Street. And also on top of the PTI, we will be providing 4 domestic blocks will be built above the PTI, providing about 2,000 flats, accommodating about 6,120 people. And since the PTI is part of the comprehensive development, and therefore the government plans to entrust the housing authority for the project, and therefore to ensure that there is better coordination of the project and that there will be timely completion of the PTI. Upon completion, the PTI will be handed over to relevant departments for management and maintenance. We've consulted the Sam Po District Council's Housing Affairs Committee, and their members are not against the proposed PTI. The capital cost of the project is estimated to be $108.2 million in money of the day prices. Subject to member support, we plan to seek funding approval from the PwC and the Finance Committee. Once funding is approved by the FC, works will commence next year and is expected to be completed by 2019 to tie in with the completion of the public housing project at Park Tin Estate. Members are invited to support these 2 proposed projects. Members are now invited to ask questions and make comments. May I propose that each member have 4 minutes? Mr. Leung Chi-Cheung. Madam Chairman, I support both projects. Such developments are actually conducive to the public housing development in both areas. But I have a few questions for the director, and I'd like to seek clarification regarding certain points in the paper. For example, the lift towers, the elevators, and the footbridges. According to the paper, you intend to entrust the maintenance and repair of the facilities to the relevant departments. But these structures are linked to the public housing estates. Now, we have the experience that in Tin Shui Wai, in Tin Shing Court, and Tin Yu Estate. Part of the facilities half of the facilities are managed by the management company of Tin Shui Court, and the other half by the public housing estate. And when there are disputes, district councils simply don't know what to do. I hope the departments will have a clear division of labor, and there should be better coordination. So I'd like you to tell us which department you will entrust such works to. And secondly, regarding the PTI, at the last time, at the site for the Tin Shui Wai HOS flat, I raised the same question. In that particular location, the PTI was an open PTI, and I always complained that there was noise nuisance, but you denied that. I would support your present proposal, but I criticize your earlier project. Well, they are similar. You're now redeveloping Park Tin Estate. You're going to build a cover PTI next to it. It's really beautifully designed, a beautifully designed PTI. Whereas in Tin Shui Wai, we have two similar sites, two identical sites. I can't remember the name of the estate next to Tin Sing Estate. You're also building open PTIs there. So what exactly are your criteria? Thank you, Mr. Leung, for the questions. To answer your question regarding the footbridge, it should be, handed over to relevant departments such as the Highways Department for maintenance and repair. So it would not be for the property manager of the housing estate. So does that include cleansing and maintenance? Yes. Yeah, that is for sure. The relevant departments will be responsible. It will not be take the responsibility of the management office of the housing estates. To answer your second question regarding the PTI, we are proposing to build a covered PTI, and there will be housing developments on top of the PTI. Mr. Leung refers to the HOS project at CHEUNG Road and the PTI there. There is a small deck, but there is no housing development on top of the PTI there, because in that particular lot, the location of the PTI is located near a ancestral shrine there, so it's not suitable to have housing developments on top of the PTI because it might affect the feng shui of the area. Mr. Fernando CHEUNG. Madam Chair, of course I support both projects, but I have a few inquiries regarding the footbridge and the lift at Xiaoming Road. The project cost is $130 million. If you have a lift tower plus a covered footbridge, I think the project apparently it's too expensive. I don't know whether this is ignorance on my part. If you're talking about $130 million, and I don't think that is commensurate with the cost of building a lift tower and a footbridge. For example, to build a home for the elderly, accommodating 150 persons, it's only 150 million. So I don't know why it is so expensive. And regarding the PTI, I'm worried about whether there will be barrier-free access. According to the plan, I don't know whether the area at the center where people load, where people alight or get on the buses, will there be barrier-free access? Thank you, Dr. Cheung. Looking at the project cost, the cost would include the construction, the foundation work, the superstructures, and the relevant costs, the slopes and site investigation, and also the on-cost paid to the housing department and contingency fees, plus the provision for cost variations. Only by adding all those together do you arrive at the total of $130 million. So the total figure comprises, many smaller items. Madam Chair, could we ask her to give us all the full details? I don't believe we have the detailed breakdowns of the different cost items. I'll ask Mr. Low, our Chief Engineer, to answer the question. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'd like to thank members for the question. The total figure is $130 odd million, and Mrs. Fung already explained that it includes many small items. For the cost of the building the footbridge and the foundation work is about $40 million. So it's about 1.4 million per square meters, and this is comparable to the cost of building similar footbridges. I think we made a comparison, and and they're found to be the same. For the lift tower, there will be lifts, 3 lifts inside the lift tower, and therefore it costs more to build this lift tower. We expect that it's going to cost $22 million. So we will prepare a paper listing all the details in our paper for the PwC. Could you also answer the question regarding the PTI? Dr. Cheung is right in pointing out that for the PTI, in the middle is not for the loading and unloading passengers. I think in the annex, members will find that the passengers will board and alight at the side, and in the middle the buses will be parked there, and the buses will only pick up the passengers along the roadside, and also they will unload the passengers before they will park in the central area. So the passengers don't have to go to the center to board the buses. So I believe that in 2012-2013 the District Council supported this proposal, but I believe that you have explained the details to the District Council. We are only told that you need to upgrade this project, but have you assessed the passenger traffic there, and why do you need to upgrade the project? I'm not a resident of the area, but once the lift tower is built, there is only a single road there, and people cannot go to the other side of the road. How would the passengers disperse once they've taken the lift and traveled down the lift tower? And why have you decided to build 3 lifts? Is it because of the pedestrian traffic? And regarding the PDI at Park One Street in Sam Shui Po, I think I agree we need to build a new PTI because you're actually decommissioning the old PTI. But the PTI only accommodates, franchise buses and green minibuses. Would you consider also providing for a taxi stand there? Because the Kaifongs very often would need to take taxis if they're in a hurry going to work.
Deputy Director. Thank you, Mr. Kwok, for his questions. First of all, let me tell you about the views received from Kwun Tong. We consulted on the 29th of November 2011, and they urged us to complete and research and study about these proposals as soon as possible. And they also talked about the function of the lift and capacity and abatement of nuisance and noise during works period. And we have adopted all the comments. We will use a concrete footbridge, so we will not be reflective, and there will be ventilation. The capacity of lifts will be able to meet the pedestrian, about 1,600 people per hour. I didn't hear that, sorry. About 1,800 people an hour. What about peak hours? That is in relation to the design of the footbridge. On the PTI at Park Tin, and the taxi issue, I will defer to Mr. Low. Thank you. The new PTI is a reprovision of an existing PTI. The new one will accommodate franchise buses and green minibuses. There is a taxi stand at Park Wen Street. So not in the PTI. No, not in the PTI, outside. Is there space for one? Can you maybe put it in the PTI as well? Because the taxis, if you're waiting at the taxi stand, you're exposed to the elements. The design of the PTI is for franchise buses and minibuses, as I've explained. They can pick up and drop off passengers at the roadside, so there is no space for taxis to queue. Mr. Lo Kwok. Of course, I support the PTI at Park Wen Street because this is related to the redevelopment of Park Tin Estate. If it can be completed earlier, it would be better. I read that it will be commissioned in 2019. The open-air PTI, the existing one, will be vacated for 2 public housing domestic blocks, providing units for about 3,000 people. And the new PTI, there will be 4 domestic blocks on top. So can you explain to us what about the timetable of the domestic blocks on top and the PTI? And also, when will the existing PTI be vacated? What about interface problem? Deputy Director, thank you. I thank Mr. Low for his support. The PTI and the superstructure, I will defer to my colleagues. Thank you. There will be topside development. As Ms. Fung explained, they will be constructed at the same time. So it will start at the beginning of 2016 all the way to 2019. And in relation to the timing of closing of the existing PTI and the commissioning of the PTI, we have temporary measures at Park Wen Street. There will be temporary bus laybys. For the continuous provision of bus service. We have already started the work. At the end of this year, that is about September, October, work will be completed. Buses will pick up and drop off passengers at Park Wen Street. The existing PTI will be closed for the 2 public housing blocks. I would like to declare that I'm a member of the Housing Authority. Well, as you've said in your reply, there will be a time when buses will have to use a temporary PTI. Will you make arrangements to facilitate pedestrian as far as possible? Say, for example, some temporary structures used as shelters, serving as shelters. And the answer is yes. I'll defer to Mr. Low. Yes. Where passengers queue, there will be a cover. I don't have any other questions, and I hope the project will receive funding approval as soon as possible. But now, the way I see it, it will be quite some time before it gets to the FC. I hope the process will not be dragged on so that work can start as soon as possible. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, for the first time, I'd like to ask about the 2,000 flats in the topside development of the PTI. Apart from domestic flats, will there be social welfare facilities there? Perhaps you have already answered that. But the thing is that CY Leung recently said that there is not a problem of the policies because of a shortage of land when it comes to residential elderly services. Ms. Feng, there will be some residential care homes, some social welfare facilities. So apart from domestic elements, there will be retail facilities, car parks, and some social welfare facilities. Can you elaborate? What services are you talking about? And what about the percentage? Ms. Feng? It includes comprehensive development. Well, I think we will provide you the details after the meeting, because it's about all the social welfare facilities upon redevelopment. Do you have to come back to the panel to give us more information? It's an HA development, so we don't have to come back to this panel to furnish further information. The social welfare facilities will be funded by the Social Welfare Department. It will go to the PWSC or the FC. And I do think that when it comes to construction of PTI with other structures on top, we're all very concerned about optimum use of land resources and whether the plot ratio will be exhausted. I think the information should be included in the document to the PWSC, otherwise you draw criticism. We've received several proposals of PTI construction, but we have not seen information about meeting social demand, especially elderly service. It's not coming from me, it's coming from CY Leung, because he said that it's not a policy problem is because of the shortage of land. Ms. Feng, when you go to the PWSC, please give us more information. Yes, it may not be related to the funding application, but if you have any information about the topside development, give us it in the PWSC. We will do so as far as possible. There are many phases of redevelopment of Pak Tin Estate, and we will not just focus on one phase. So we are talking about a comprehensive development of the entirety of Pak Tin Estate. Well, because of this mentality, you have not shown us the forest and shown us whether the tree has been optimally used. Please give us the information as soon as possible. You need funding from us to construct the PTI. We are very concerned about making good use of land. Please give us the information in the PWSC. Thank you. I'd like to ask my questions. There will be 3 lifts in the lift tower at Sao Ming Road. On a number of occasions, we've said that we welcome the proposal, but we are concerned whether the lifts will be big enough, because I was once wheelchair bound, and once I was in, no one else could get in. And I heard that there will be over 1,000 people per hour using it. So if other people are using it, maybe wheelchair users won't be able to use it. So what about the size of the 3 lifts? Will they be big enough? And the PTI at Pak Tin Estate, it is to reprovision the existing one. So how is the size compared to the existing one? Bigger? Smaller? Will there be more pick-up and dropping off points? And I see in the document that at the peripheral of the PTI, buses can pick up and drop off passengers. But how can you ensure that passengers would actually do what you want them to do? They would just dash forward if they see their bus. So what can you do to stop them from crossing the road to go to where they want to, instead of where you want them to be? And about the interface of the new and the old PTI, have you communicated sufficiently with stakeholders? Because sometimes we see that when there are construction projects, it may cause inconvenience to stakeholders. Thank you. Our first answer about the size of the lifts. The 3 lifts. Each has a capacity of 24 people and accommodating 2 wheelchairs, a buggy, and other people. And there will be 3 lifts. And the second question is about the area of the PTI. My understanding is that it's slightly bigger than the existing one. When it comes to dropping and picking up arrangements, it will be safer than the existing ones. I will defer to my colleague for further details. Perhaps I will first ask the Transport Department to give you information about such arrangements and the interface of the new and old PTI. We will consult extensively stakeholders to make sure that it will provide convenience and it will be seamless transition. Perhaps the Transport Department can first talk about management of buses. First, let me explain about the PTI. In the middle, there will be parking space for buses, and at the peripheral, there will be drop-off and pick-up points. Because of a topside development, we explained that there will be commercial facilities and other facilities. Passengers, after they have got off, can go to the commercial facilities from at grade. There is no need for them to cross any carriageways. This is safer for pedestrians. And the transition of the new and the old PTI, we've consulted the district council, we've got their support. Well, at Gazetto, the existing PTI will be closed and we've not received any objections.
CHEUNG, you have 3 minutes for your second round. I'm sorry, I'd like to come back to the Chiu-hung Street project. The deputy director told us that at the peak hour, the passenger traffic will be about 1,800. But we're talking about the area which is located on the slope, and a single lift tower can only, it's only a small section. So what will be incentive for people to come down from Ping to Chiu-hung Street? So will there be that many people using this lift? I just want to know whether or not the scale is appropriate. In Shaoqi Wan at Tonghei Court, for example, you had planned to build a lift tower and a footbridge to be used by Tonghei Yun and Tonghei Estate, but after you've completed the project, the Kaifongs don't use it at all, and they would. So and the pedestrian traffic was not as heavy as forecasted. I hope that I'm afraid this may happen again. And also regarding the Pak Tin Street project, where will the ventilation vents be located? Thank you, Mr. Kwok. Regarding the linkage for the pedestrian footbridge, downward it links up with the Kwun Tong Tang. On top, it will link up with the development along Anderson Road. I don't have a map here for members today, but basically, as far as the road network is concerned, this will be linked up to the bus stop and the shopping center at Shao Mao Ping commercial shopping center, and going up it will connect with the Anderson project. Regarding the ventilation vent at Pak Tin Estate, we will ensure that the exhaust will not cause any adverse environmental impact. So we will try our best to use natural ventilation. On ventilation, I think members have asked a very valid question, because the PTI will be covered, and therefore air quality inside the PTI and ventilation are very important issues. In its design, the PTI for the PTI, there will be ventilation from all sides. At the side where facing Park One Street, there will be a slope 40 meters long, and then there will be other slopes 9 to 10 meters long with ventilation corridors. There will also be mechanical ventilation systems to ensure that the air quality within the PTI is up to standard. When you go to the PWSC, could you also give us more details regarding the ventilation facilities? In response to members' questions today, we will provide more information when we go to the PWSC so that we can explain such details further. I'll allow Mr. Wuchiwai for his second round before we wind up our discussion of this item. At the location here in Chiu-hung Street, we're inclined to believe that it will be the people who, most of the passengers who travel from Chiu-hung Street going upwards to Shao Mao Ping rather than the other way around. So based on this estimate, what what do you think will be the expected patronage? Because I think you are. I think your forecast is based on the pedestrian traffic. Going downwards. Normally, we're talking about the Shao-Ping bus stops and shopping centers. I think there will be fewer people, using the facility to go down to Kwun Tong. It's most likely that people living along Hill Kwong Street would go up to the Shao-Ping shopping center or to go to the bus stops there. So how did you work out these figures? I think this is the projected pedestrian traffic. So we are talking about a slope which is 34 meters. There's a 34-meter difference in gradients. So at this site, I think there will be steps along the slopes, but they are rather, it will take about more than 10 minutes. And also there are many people who would like to use those stairs to go down to the Kwun Tong Town Center. I think Mr. Wu is not asking why you need to build the footbridge and the lift tower. His question is that after you've completed the project, do you think the residents will be using the lift to go up or go downwards? I think it will be both ways. In the morning, during the people can use the lift to go down to Kwun Tong Center. After people, return from work, they can also take the lift and return to Shao-Ping. And after the Anderson Row public housing project is completed, there will be 1,500 people moving into the area. So it is your estimate that it will be, bidirectional. I don't quite understand your answer. I hope you just give us the figures, because when you go to the PwC, we will be asking you the same question. Because objectively, there are already escalators where people can, go down to Hill Kwong Street through the Hill Lai Court. So what purpose does this proposed project serve, and what is your projected pedestrian flow? Mr. Wu already has pointed out that the passenger flow will be pedestrian flow is about more than 1,000 people per hour. Mr. Wu's question is, will all these pedestrians be, taking the lift upwards towards Shao-Ping, or would it be that there will be both, pedestrians traveling down to Kwun Tong and going up to Shao-Ping at the same time? If all 1,000 people were moving in the same direction, then the lifts may not be able to cope. No. I just want to find out what those figures mean. Okay, why don't you give us more details when you go to the PwC? All right, if members have further questions, do members agree that we refer this item to the PwC? Are we all in agreement that both projects will be referred to the PwC for consideration? Okay, we support both projects. Next, we come to the next item, which is Green Farm Subsidized Home Ownership Pilot Scheme. And this is paper CB1 884 1415-05. To welcome the government's representatives. Now, who would be taking us through the paper? Yes, Chairman, Madam Chair. This paper briefed members on the proposed scheme, para 2 and 3 gives the background of the project. In the long-term housing strategy, some people have pointed out that green form applicants have the ability to buy their own homes, and there have been suggestions that we should, expand the. So we have promised that we would study how we can, expand the form of subsidized home ownership, and where appropriate, introduce supplementary schemes of subsidized sales flats. In the policy address this year, the government proposed that HA should consider study into the feasibility of the green form subsidized home ownership scheme. And after the policy address the Housing Authority had a discussion on the proposal, and a planning committee of the Housing Department, the Strategic Planning Committee, had discussed the details for the implementation of this scheme and decided to implement a pilot scheme. And then the details were worked out at the Subsidized Housing Committee. In paragraph 5 of the paper, we have outlined the principles for site selection. Paragraph 6 is about eligibility criteria. The scheme, by definition, is for green form applicants. The Housing Authority decided to adopt the same definition of green form applicants as currently applicable to HOS. Paragraph 8 is about the price setting mechanism. In paragraph 8, bracket A, GSH flats will be sold at a discount to the market price, which will be higher than that of the applicable to HOS flats. And also in B, B will explain the details regarding the discount, and C points out that the selling price should not be lower than the cost. And starting from paragraph 9, where you'll find details regarding the resale restrictions. In the community, there has been a suggestion that there should be more restrictions regarding the resale of such flats. Having discussed with HA, we decided to adopt the same provisions in the housing ordinance as we explained in paragraph 11. That is, when a GSH flat owner wants to sell his unit, he would need to offer to sell his flats to the HA first. So we would require the GHS flat owners, if he wants to sell his own unit, then he would have to sell his flat to the HA during the first 5 years. In paragraph 12, the members will note that the SHC has discussed the issue and eventually came to the 3 conclusions in 12A-B-C. 12A, the restrictions can be imposed within the current legal framework. There is no need to amend any legislation. And B, we can adopt the same requirements in the provision. That is, if you want to sell your unit within 5 years, the HA would require you to sell your unit to a GF nominee. We think this is right, because these units are intended for green form applicants anyway. If you want to sell the unit within the first 5 years, you have to first try to sell it to the green form nominees. And C, we know that we are introducing these restrictions on resale. The effect may vary according to depending on the owner. So is it a case that all the owners will want to sell the unit to another green form applicant? That may not be the case. But anyway, for these owners, if they want to sell the units, then according to such procedures, they will have to, wait for at least 6 months. Para 13. Premium arrangements, this will be the same as the arrangements for HOS flats. And then para 14, selected site for GSH. in paragraph 15, we explained that we've actually consulted the Wong Tai Sin District Council, and this was discussed at a district council meeting on May the 19th, and they are in support of our converting this peerage project at St. Paul Gong to become GS6 units. So to sell these units, we need to prepare the sales document and prepare the deed of mutual covenant and the sales documents, and that will take some time. And we also have plans to sell HUS units, so we will need to have a good coordination between the timetable for the sale of HUS flats and the GS6 flats. We expect that the pre-sale exercise for these GS6 flats will be sometime in mid-2016.
A lot of members would like to ask questions, so please be succinct. Mr. Wu Chiu-hung to be followed by KK Fung. Mr. Wu Chiu-hung, Fung Kim, KK Fung, Lee Cheuk-yan, Leung Kwok-hong, Fernando Cheung, Kwok Wai-keung, and Ip Kwok-him. Thank you. I remember when we had a discussion in the Subsidized Housing Committee about the price setting mechanism. It was said that they will give reference to the income limit of a 4P household. But in this document, it's not mentioned. Is it the case that the mechanism I just mentioned will not be used, or what? And if it is to be used, is that the ceiling of the price level of these subsidized flats, because you take into account the affordability of a 4P household? I agree that this green form subsidized home ownership is cheaper than traditional HOS flats, and there should be more resale restrictions. But you have outlined that because of legal issues, it cannot be done. So for the green form subsidized flats, could you make use of conditions or terms of a contract to impose more restrictions on resale, and if that works, then it will become the law? I will first answer, to be supplemented by my colleagues. About the 4P household, you will find information in paragraph 8B4. The mechanism is the same as that of the HOS. We use a 4P household and a mortgage loan to price ratio 95% and a loan repayment period of 20 years. We've made the calculations, and if such a family makes this income, will the flats be affordable to them? But it is not a mechanical factor for the HA to decide the discount to be applied. Well, in the days of the HOS, the Housing Authority will take into a basket of factors before setting the discount. For the green form subsidized home ownership, there will be the same exercise. For the 150 flats in St. Paul Gong, they will take into account the going market rate and work out the discount. So the actual discount rate will be higher? You mean more affordable? The account will be bigger? The HA will have to take into account the factors. Sorry, I can't read what I've said. What's your second question? To make use of terms of a contract to tighten, to enhance restrictions. Well, we have to take two factors into consideration first. If we use terms of a contract to impose restrictions, it will complicate the documents involved in the sale. And there will also be enforcement problem. And there's also the perception problem. Well, for the sale of HOS, we make use of housing ordinance, and if there is if you do something else, say for example alienation, there's a recent issue, the refinancing, there will be legal repercussions. That means yes, you will use existing terms, but there will be additional resale restrictions in the form of terms of a contract. So there will be two levels. One is the restrictions of the law and also the agreement, because we're talking about a bigger discount for the green farm subsidized home ownership, the GSH. Mr. KK Fong, let me first state my views before I ask questions. First, the background of the GSH is not like what the document said, not like paragraph 2. Well, the long-term housing strategy steering committee have finished with the consultation, made a decision, and all of a sudden this GSH cropped up. Don't tell me that they have taken that into consideration. Paragraph 2 is actually lying. It has not reflected the truth. And you have just snatch up what doesn't belong to you, because they will be changed from PRH estates. Why do you have to use PRH resources? Why not use HOS resources? We already have 270,000 people waiting. You have taken resources from public housing estates, and as a result, the number of PRH flats will be reduced. So it is done at the expense of PRH resources. If, say for example, this is HOS, and if you take 1,000 units as the GSH, that means there will be 1,000 flats available for those on the waiting list. But now you're using PRH flats as a GSH. That means you are just using PRH resources as GSH. If you're going to take land or resources, then take that of the HOS. If you take resources from PRH and turn them into GSH, then you have upset the ratio of 60-40 because it's changed. In December 2014, the LTHS was promulgated, and less than 3 months later, it's been completely upset by the GSH. We'll ask questions about the LTHS, and then the situation changed. And well, it seems that it came from the chief executive, but actually he just took the advice of someone. I'm not going to name him. He's an academic, and he's taken everything on board. This is infuriating. If you use HOS flats, then the flats should not be allowed to be resold, because you want to give them housing to resolve their housing problem, not to make a profit when property prices are high. With these HOS flats in the secondary market, people who have sold them, they have practically won the lottery. And you are now taking the same approach. Mr. Fong, you only have dozens of seconds. You want an answer? It's up to them. I'm now criticizing them anyway. You have dozens of seconds. Well, let me give a focused answer. We have several sites for different projects, but it's not carved in stone that it has to be for HOS, GSH, or PRH. We're talking about a pilot scheme offering 800 flats. We have 200,000 and 90,000. This 800 will count towards 90,000 because this is a subsidized housing. No, then it runs counter to the policy address. You have to wait for the next round. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan, it is meaningless, however you see it, because, well, you've been saying that you want to find sites for public housing PRH units, and now you've turned this into GSH. It doesn't really matter whether it is HOS or PRH. We have over 270,000 people waiting for a PRH unit. The poorest are living in subdivided flats, and they're waiting for a PRH unit. They've been waiting for a very long time, and you turn around to tell them that there won't be as many PRH units. So there is no actual increase in number of public housing. You talk about an average waiting time of 3 years. We all know that is fake. And when someone vacates a PRH unit, it will take time for the new tenants to move in. So it won't resolve the problem. It will only turn PRH units into commercial products. I don't know how you set the price. I think it's rather meaningless. Perhaps you will have to offer a bigger discount because it's pegged with market rate. Let's say it's 40%. If it's that means you will have to pay $10,000 in mortgage. Well, it will only buy you a $1.5 million flat, but now for PRH unit it fetches $5 million. Are you going to offer a 70% off? Is it 70% off? Is it the case that it will be capped at $10,000 for a 4P household? And you said no, not necessarily. It's for reference only. So those who are making $25,000 will find it unaffordable. You said that the discount will be big, but you can't tell us what the discount is. Say 95%, 20 years. Are you going to cap the mortgage amount? If not, if you're going to change your mind about the discount rate, then people won't be able to afford it. This is public housing, and it is for people who find the private market unaffordable. And as a result, these flats will be out of their reach still. So is it the case that public housing is not a commercial product? And what about your price setting? Is it going to be capped at $10,000 for 20 years, 95% for a 4P household? Well, I just said $1.5 million off the top of my head. So have you made your calculations? So what will the discount rate be? DS or PS? Well, let me first confirm something Mr. Lee said, that this scheme will not increase the supply of PRH units, because when the existing tenants move out to GSH, it will take time before the new tenants can move in. It will take about 10 to 11 weeks after we have renovated it. The LTHS has set out that they have adopted a two-pronged approach. PRH and HOS are equally important, so we'll continue to identify sites for subsidized housing and for PRH units. What about price setting? And he confirmed that there will be a delay of 3 months. Dr. Fernando has just tabled a motion about shelving this scheme, and we will deal with it later. Mr. Leung Kok-hung, CY Leung's practice is to not do something he said, but do something he has never said all of a sudden. So is it a kind of conspiracy? It sounds like something that happened close to the end of the Tong Chi-hwa era. Well, if you toss a coin, then about 10 times it will be tail, the other 10 times it will be head. So is he really sick in the head? I think if that is the case, that he has to seek medical treatment. Previously, there was the white form purchase of secondary HOS market. Now we have this GSH. You try to ask people to buy HOS flats. It simply doesn't work because people find it unaffordable.
You've tried it before. I mean, the units in my estate is not for sale. Otherwise, I would have bought it and I would be criticized. Well, it's just because the people living in my estate are too poor. And now you're coming up with this GSH scheme. Now, I think what you're saying is waste of time. CY always, put the blame on the shortage of land in Hong Kong. Since it is so difficult to find land, and now you're proposing this scheme. Well, this is a form of subsidized housing. And are you going to put it under the HOS scheme or the PRH program? I think you have to put it under either one. So it's simple logic. I think you've already explained to us the ratio. You are now inventing a new product, so it has to be at the expense of either PRH units or HOS units. So are you sick in the mind? I've never seen anyone who keep making mistakes again and again. Carrie Lam and Paul Chen said that they would revitalize the industrial buildings and come up with subdivided flats, and then it didn't work out. And CY Leung, when did he talk about this? When I want to put forward my ideas to him, he would not listen. But if we see any Kai Fong, whenever people flatter him, then he would respond. So I don't think you should implement a scheme which will result in a reduction in the number of PRH units. Or are you telling us that this GSX scheme will reduce the number of HOS units, or are you changing the 60-40 ratio? But that's not the case. Well, all you need to do is to change the 60-40 ratio. You can use 7% of land to build PRH units and so on. Mr. Ying, please, when you see your secretary, Mr. Anthony Cheung, tell him that Mr. CY Leung is always causing, making mistakes and causing all these damages. Why don't you ask him to consult a doctor? I've never seen someone who is so stupid and someone who is making mistakes all the time. I wouldn't say that he is against the motherland or is going to cause chaos in Hong Kong, but being stupid is also a serious, offense. Fernando Cheung, I think the most important purpose of PRH unit is to help those people who can't afford to buy their own accommodation, and I believe we all agree to that. But the GSH scheme obviously is not, created for this purpose. If that's not the purpose, and you are now proposing to take away units originally meant to be PRH units to serve another purpose, by doing so, you are actually defeating the purpose of providing rental PRH units to help those in need. The waiting list for PRH is already getting longer and longer. Property prices are increasing all the time, and the public is facing more and more serious problem. But you've chosen to this time to take out some PRH units for sale. I think this has been tried in the past, and the tenancy, the previous scheme was a failure, but now I think what you're proposing will delay the mobility, because the residents have to choose their own units, and they would need to be, relocated and so on. So certainly it will, slow down the process. As a result, people who are in the queue will have to wait longer. For PRH residents, is it the case that there's no way they can buy their own properties? They can, use the green form to buy, HOS flats in the primary and secondary market. They can also, PRH tenants can also buy units, subsidized, housing units, or even in the private market. It's not that they don't have any channels to buy their own properties. We have HOS units. You are now redeveloping the HOS flats already. Why is it that the PRH units, which are meant originally for those at the grassroots level, you're taking them out and sell them like HOS units? And we don't understand why. Madam Chair, I've already moved my motion. I believe that the whole GSH scheme should be shelved. Otherwise, the waiting list for PRH units will only become longer, and our entire PRH policy would be made even more confusing because of this GSH project. I hope members would remember that the most important purpose for rental PRH units is to serve the residents at the grassroots level rather than a tool for speculation. I think after the proposal for GSH units have been proposed, there have been extensive discussion within the community and the HA, and we have decided on this pilot scheme. I respect Mr. Cheung's opinion. Mr. Cheung is saying that it takes time for us to renovate the old PRH units before we can lease it again. But then, for HOS units, we should also allow the green form applicants to buy as well, because the effect will be the same. Mr. Kwok Wai Keung. Thank you. I heard members from the opposition camp criticizing all these new concepts and ideas which the administration has come up with. But honestly, I must emphasize that if we have the green form of subsidized housing, those people who buy GSH flats will have to, return their own PRH unit. So there's no question of the GHS scheme will cut down on the number of PRH, on the supply of PRH units. I think that at worst the number will simply break even. For the green form applicants, I think there is more than 10 times oversubscription when HOS flats are for sale. So one can see that even for the PRH tenants, they do have a diversified need for housing. Some would like to improve the living environment. They would like to buy their own property, but the private market is too expensive. They may not be able to buy any HOS units. So if there is the green form subsidized housing, which gives them a priority, I'm sure they would welcome that. On the condition, of course, that for the new GSX scheme, it is now only a pilot scheme. It's not. So let's first find out what would be the effect when we sell these 800 units. And I think we can also give our views and comments when the government changes pilot scheme into a long-term policy. So my question is this. Right now, So long as a PRH tenant is willing to surrender his PRH units, he is eligible to buy the GSH units. I'd like to ask whether or not tenants who are living in overcrowded, flats or who are affected by the redevelopment, whether or not they will have priority, or are they eligible to buy these GSH units? Will they get any priority to buy these GSH units so that they don't have to, also be like the other applicants and also, is the government using the GHX scheme to actually adjust the ratio between green form and white form applicants for HOS units? I'll answer the second question, and Agnes will answer your first question. For HOS flats, we have a long-established policy and a mechanism. For example, how the prices are set, the percentage of white form applicants, and so on. I believe the next time we have HOS units for sale, the HA will consider a basket of factors and decide on the ratio between green form and white form applicants. Ms. Chen will answer your first question. Regarding the tenants affected by redevelopment or those who are living in overcrowded conditions, whether they have a priority, that will be for the HA to decide. If you look at the experience of HOS flats, I think such people these people have the priority if they want to buy HOS units, and I think this can also be extended to the sale of GSH units. You caught him. Thank you. How can we provide better and more housing units for those in need is the responsibility of the housing authority. I heard members from the opposition camp who have a lot of opposition to these new ideas, and they tend to have a negative view regarding the proposal. I am all in support of the GSH scheme because it will enable those people who have the PRH tenants who have the means to surrender their own rental units for those in need. But in that process, you have to make it attractive to these people. For PRH tenants, there is no incentive for them to give up the units, but the GSH units will give them that incentive. My understanding is that these GSH units are considered HOS flats and not PRH units. Some people say that this will delay the time for people to be given PRH units. So is it better that we have more PRH units available, or even if it takes longer? But the reality is that according to paragraph 12 of the paper, and given that we have the housing ordinance, we have to amend the ordinance. I don't think we should allow the PRH residents to sell their units. So I think you may need to enact a new piece of legislation. Ms. Leung Kok-hong was criticizing our chief executive. I'm the first to criticize Mr. Leung Kok-hong. I think the housing ordinance should be amended. For someone who is earning $90,000 a month and is still living in a PRH units, I don't understand why, because of people like him, that the other people who are in need will not be allocated a PRH unit. So indeed, the housing ordinance must be amended. In the course of amendment, we have to ensure that those who have the need will be allocated PRH units. I therefore believe that we should ensure that the GSH units will result in PRH rental units being vacated and allocated to those in need. So this GSH scheme will make it will simply, give the incentive and attract those PRH tenants to surrender the flats. Now, first of all, I've already said earlier that after the GSH units are being launched, and I think our target now is to build 20,000, PRH units and 9,000 subsidized, units, including HOS and also GSH, which is a form of subsidized housing. On the question of circulation, we understand that for HOS units, 55% were bought by green form applicants, and after they've bought the HOS units, they will surrender the PRH units. It does work. And members also asked about the discussion within the HA, and we discussed what could be done after the ordinance were amended. Now, if we start out with this pilot scheme, we should do it on the basis of the existing ordinance.
Mr. Leung Chiu-hung, thank you. DAB welcomes this scheme because at least it provides more chances for PRH tenants to improve the standard of living. Of course, with this new scheme, there will be different problems and loopholes. But we at least will have to support more choices and this new idea. Now, this is a pilot scheme. And we will take stock and see how it goes later. The Housing Authority launched this scheme. It's a pilot scheme. That means you will learn from experience. There are only 800 flats, but over 10,000 people apply for it. That means it's very popular. Will you consider popularity when you decide whether to relaunch it? Well, how are you going to review this pilot scheme if it is popular and if it doesn't affect development of any mechanism, including a turnover of PRH units? Will you use the GSH to replace HOS? This is one direction you can consider. So I'd like to know about how you review it. Under what circumstances will you relaunch it? And there are about 8,000 units every year vacated for new tenants. If that is the case, if we have GSH every year, that means the number of flats vacated will increase, but it will take away new PRH units. There is a shortage of 20,000 PRH units that have yet to have a site. So how can you identify sites? Find land. P.S. About review, the current discussion of the HA has yet to cover it. There is still time to consider it. We can ask the HA to discuss what will be covered in the review. Say, for example, policy, if it's implemented smoothly and if it's widely accepted, and whether there is any operational difficulties or problems. Say, for example, the title, the deed, the DMC, we will learn from experience. There is also the market response from green farmers and other sectors, and also the view of the HA. You asked if at one stage it will replace HOS. As I said, the HA has yet to have discussions on this. They mentioned that the GSH will not undermine HOS. HOS has a history of over 10 years, and there is high expectations from society. Land supply is a difficult issue. We keep the target of 100 to 200,000 flats. Mr. Raymond Wong. Thank you. Loyalists, of course, like to toady up to the government, but they at the same time would like to make an impression to the public that they are speaking for them. So they will criticize the government, but in fact they support the administration. But the opposition, on the other hand, of course, will have to criticize where is due. Well, what is the use of making available 800 PRH units? Build more. That's the crux of the problem. So it's not something new. Just build more PRH units. We have 280,000 people on the waiting list. Instead of building more PRH units, you push people to the private sector. You think a lot of people can afford private housing? You say that green farmers, they can afford to buy, but actually you're pushing them off the cliff. This is not a new idea. And we all often say that some people will only give a lot of hot air. You are only a cog in the wheel. You're only the PS. And you will be criticized. I only have 4 minutes. I'm not going to go to details of the nonsense. You said that HOS has been well established and is very popular. That is not the case. Well, HOS was suspended by Donald Tsang and now is resumed. And you now launch this GSH. This chief executive has been in office for 3 years. I think it's a waste of space. How many PRH flats do you churn out every year? Can you keep any of the targets? None. And you say that the RCHEs, a residential care home for the elderly, is something to do with land? This is nonsense. Privately run RCHEs are held for the elderly. You have a reserve of hundreds of $billions. If you take it up as a responsibility and have all the RCHEs run by the government, you have way more than the money you need. You have parents. You can't possibly blame it on land. I can tell you this is a wretched person. And in the next Q&A question, I am going to have a go at him. Please focus on the GSH. Well, whether we support the GSH is a different issue. The crux of the problem is to resolve housing issues that have surfaced. You want to give a roof to everyone. It's a picture painted by a poet. And that was back in the days when people are poor. But we are an affluent society. What's the use of vacating 800 PRH units? If you want to tackle the roots of the problem, build more PRH units and give subsidy to get people to buy HOS, or offer interest-free loans so that people can afford to make down payment. What new idea? It's nonsense. This is just the act of a sycophant. It's complete nonsense. Before we have the second round, I'd like to ask the administration, first of all, this what is the difference between GSH and a green form to apply for an HOS? Why will PRH tenants or eligible applicants go for the GSH? I've attended residents associations. Some PRH tenants support this scheme because they hope that the price of the GSH flats will be lower than those of HOS. So, P.S. When it comes to the price setting, what incentives will you offer so that PRH tenants will give up their unit and go to GSH and not to use green form to apply for an HOS? And with the launching of the GSH, will it reduce the supply of PRH units? Thirdly, this is a pilot scheme, and you said you would take certain factors into consideration. How long will this pilot scheme be pilot for? In San Pokong, there is a site, you said, and it will be changed from PRH development to GSH. So there is only one site under this pilot scheme, and afterwards there will be a review. And in relation to resale restrictions, yes, there are some ways for you to impose such restrictions. But if you want to use this scheme to get PRH tenants with the means to vacate the PRH units, then you can allow resale to other green formers. You can change the law. So how can you still impose the resale restrictions? 800 is not small nor big a number. If they can resell to non-PRH tenants, then it will undermine the objective of the scheme because it will not help with the turnover of PRH units. You've asked 4 questions. First, for a green former, the biggest difference between GSH and HOS is the discount rate. As I said, that the HA said that when it comes to this discount of GSH, it will be bigger than that of HOS. And of course, there are other differences. Say, for example, the location of these flats. Review. As I've explained that this is a pilot scheme, we should take stock of our experience. And as to the timetable for review, we will have to first talk to the HA. Resale restrictions. We reported to you the HA discussion. There will be restrictions imposed. If the flat is to be sold in the first 5 years, then you will have to find a green former and sell the flat to them. But we don't expect them to try forever. So this requirement will be for 6 months only. So it's actually similar to what you said. If the flat is to be sold, it will be sold to a green former, at least at first. And let me say for the 3rd time, there are 857 flats. They are subsidized flats. Our target is 20,000 PRH units and 9,000 subsidized flats. The 857 GSH flats will count towards the 90,000. The 9,000. We still have a target of 20,000 and 9,000. Second round, Mr. KK Fong. Just now, the answer was that this will count towards 9,000. Please refer to the policy address of the Chief Executive, because he said it differently. So it seems that you override the CE. So who overrides whom? The policy address overrides the housing policy, and now it seems that it's the other way around. And using the calculation of the chief executive, well, if you are a PRH tenant, and if you want to change to HOS, and if you take land from HOS, then of course the number will remain unchanged. But if you use PRH units, the number will decrease. Say for example, well, you will be able to say, for example, so you will be able to get in the end 245,000 PRH units vacated. But if you use PRH units, the number will not be the same. And Mr. Ip said that it's a new idea. But if it's said by Mr. Kwok Wai Keung, I will not rebut him. Well, the HOS was a scheme first launched in 1978. It's an old idea rehashed. It's just that this GSH will be cheaper. So it's an old idea. It's an old idea rehashed. If that is the case, then you would have to have two tiers of HOS. One is just the normal rate, and the other one will be cheaper than the normal rate of HOS flats. You say that this is not PRH, and neither is it HOS, and it's a new idea. I'm sorry, I can't agree with you. If your words different from chief executive, then I will support you. But if it is along the same line as chief executive, I won't support you, because this will have an impact of PRH supply. With a shortage in supply, you should not take away the right of PRH applicants.
Oh, I can sell the unit, within 6 months. And of course, I would not sell it to a GF applicant. I definitely will fail in getting, a green form applicant to buy my flat. I certainly will wait and sell my unit in the private market. Permanent Secretary. Sorry, Mr. Fung's time is up. Lee Chek Yen. Whether this is new mindset or old mindset, I don't even want to bother to comment on that. It's a stupid idea. It would definitely reduce the number of the supply of PRH rental units. You talk about 210,000 or 200,000. Do you have land to build 200,000 PRH units? But you already have land to. I think out of the 90,000, you're taking 800 units away. Originally, the 800 units could come under the 200,000. So, however you take those units out from, eventually the supply of PRH units will be cut. Because you've not resolved the problem regarding, supply of PRH rental units. And secondly, I want you to answer my earlier question regarding pricing. My question was a simple one. On the one hand, you haven't decided yet on the discount rate. I don't know how much the discount will be. Are you going to set a cap that is for a 4-person household living in PRH units, 40% of the household income, and the ceiling is set at $10,000? If people pay a mortgage of 10,000 units, so what can they, buy? If you say that the ceiling for the price is 1.5 billion, then we can work out what that discount is. But do you have a discount in mind? Mr. Lee is asking a question about the pricing of HOS flats. I'd like to reiterate once again that in the long-term housing strategy, we've set a target of 200,000, PRH rental units and 90,000 HOS flats. These are our two working targets. But land supply is a problem. We said that for the time being, we have been able to identify land to build 20,000 units. So we don't even have enough land for the construction of PRH units. So Mr. Lee is correct. For PRH and HOS, there is an urgent demand. Although resources are tight, we're working hard on both fronts. As to whether or not, because of that, we don't build HOS flat units and build PRH units instead, I don't think that is right. The benefit of the GSH unit is that for the same unit built, you can satisfy two households. You have a green farm house applicant. If we give them a hand, they can buy the property and give up. And once they move out of the PRH unit, and after renovation for about 10 weeks, another one from the waiting list can take up that unit. So that's the benefit of the scheme. Pricing. I've asked the question of pricing many times. Mr. CHEUNG and then Mr. Him. On pricing, although I cannot answer the question on behalf of the government, but I understand that it will certainly be cheaper than HOS units, and I think this is a direction in which many PRH tenants will find attractive. Mr. Fung Kim Kay also touched on this earlier. Since the GSH will be put under subsidized housing, so if all these subsidized housing were HOS units and adopting the 60-40 ratio, the maximum is that about 6% of the 90,000 units will be given a green form applicants, and there will be. But if all 90,000 units were GSX units, 90,000 PRH rental units will be surrendered. I think that would be a more realistic comparison. I think that already answered Mr. Fung's question. I also have a question regarding the size of the unit. Of the 857 units, we are told that it's about 14 to 38 square meters. So what is the distribution between the small and larger units? Will there be more smaller units, or will there be more units of a larger area? And for the GSH units, it is another ladder between PRH rental units and HOS. The FTU have also suggested as to whether or not between PRH and HOS we can add another layer of housing for the sandwich class who are not entitled to become green farm applicants and who cannot afford to buy their own properties in the private market. Thank you. To answer Mr. Kwok's second question, our secretary had discussed with members about this many times. We agreed that those who need the government to help them will be the green farm applicants and the white farm applicants. Hence, we have the 200,000 and 90,000 target. The GSH is a scheme in between the two, and it will increase the mobility of PRH rental units and so on. But regarding the question of the sandwich class, I think you are moving away from the green farm and white farm applicants. So we will first focus on the green farm and white farm applicants, and we don't have resources to deal with the others for the time being. Regarding the distribution of smaller and larger units, for the Sampo Kong project, it was originally designed as a PRH units. So there won't be any change after we have the GSH pilot scheme. So 1 to 2 person household 125, 2 to 3 person household 234, two bedroom flat 244, 4. So there's no change. Mr. Ip Kok Him, followed by Mr. Ip Kok Him. I have a question for the government, because I hope the Permanent Secretary will clearly explain, whether the GSH units will count as part of the PRH or units, or And because otherwise people who object to Mr. Chiu-hung will keep, making criticisms. Anyway, the Chiu-hung has not said that he wants to, scrap the HOS flats, and if you make unrealistic, irrational accusations like that, there's no point in any discussion. And Dr. Fernando CHEUNG's motion said that the GSX scheme will reduce the supply of PRH units, and I fully disagree. If you we've always stated we don't agree that we should cut down on the supply of PRH units. The GSH is meant for green form, PRH tenants to buy their own properties. Could the permanent secretary, explain this again clearly? And I would object to this motion. Permanent secretary. Well, it is a target that we build 200,000 PRH units, 90,000 subsidized, homes, and GSH will count under those 90,000. In paragraph 2 of the paper, we've quoted what we said in the long-term housing strategy. Strategically, we've already have planned for some supplementary schemes of subsidized sales flats. The CE in his policy address mentioned, he didn't say how these details are to be worked out. He said that taking land out of intended for public housing, but as to which type of housing need we need to satisfy, that would be the 200,000 and 90,000 that I mentioned. Mr. Leung Chi-Chung. Recently, there is a report suggesting that the GSH units will take away the customers who would buy HOS units because people who had been, allocated HOS flats, 20% of them have decided not to take up those units. So I'd like to ask the Housing Authority, if you launch the GSH scheme and the, long-established HOS flats is affected, the GSH, indeed, the units are cheaper. Certainly will be cheaper than HOS units. Furthermore, there are many small units, and therefore it would satisfy those PRH tenants who are living in small PRH units or one-person, two-person households who would like to buy their own HOS units or GSX units. So Chairman, it is our opinion that from the perspective of the green form buyer, green form applicant, of course, he knows that there are two different discount schemes. But when one buys the property, the most important thing is to consider is the timing and the location. Furthermore, you need to draw lots to decide whether or not you are eligible to buy an HOS unit or GSX units. We have more than 700,000, 700,000 green form applicants. Not all of them want to buy their own properties. And there is also the difference in the timetable for the sale of the GSH and HOS flats. The difference in timing will affect people's decision. The location would also be different. So whether or not the GSH is located in the urban area or the new territories would also be different. So it's not very likely that the GHX scheme will reduce the number of people who want to buy HOS units. So we will, keep monitoring the situation, and if need be, we can make some policy adjustments. Nothing further. Dr. Fernando CHEUNG. Madam Chair. Well, indeed, this is really sophistry. In paragraph 3 of the paper, you say that in the policy address, the CE propose that suitable flats among its PRH developments under construction be identified for sale. And in paragraph 2, you say that public housing means public housing rental units. Whether you're talking about the PRH rental units conversion to GSH units. You say that rental units will be converted into unit sales flats and the planning process takes time. You're talking about rental public housing units, converted to sales flats. But now the Permanent Secretary is saying that's not the case, and that GSH should count under HOS. So apparently the GSH units will cut down the number of HOS units, and they become GSH units. But the more we hear, the Permanent Secretary told us what is most important is the supply of land. And the land originally intended for the construction of PRH rental units have now become sites for GSH units. And the number will come as part of the HOS supply. But the land on which it is built will be land for PRH rental units. So the reality is that if you can build the full number according to your plan, then GSX will not affect the supply of PRH units. But if you fail to meet the target and you say land originally intended to build PRH units has been used to build GSX units, so you cannot meet the target while you have met the target of GSX units. So would that be the correct understanding? I'd like to reiterate once again, I think the paper also has already explained that the GSH scheme is a form of subsidized housing. The 90,000 target is the target for subsidized housing. So once completed, using this method to satisfy the residents' need will count as part of the 90,000. Whether or not we meet the target, as members have suggested, we've explained to the panel previously that the land that we have obtained now is not sufficient for us to build the target number of HOS and PRH units.
I understand it. So the effect is the same. So I will insist on moving that motion. We now have to vote on Dr. Fernando Cheung's motion. It says that, given the fact that the GSH scheme will reduce the number of PRH units for allocation, thereby prolonging the waiting time and commercializing PRH units and fueling the speculative market, and it is contrary to the original intent of the public housing policy. So the panel urges the administration to shelve this. Mr. Fernando Cheung, would you please elaborate? If you use PRH sites for the GSH, that means you are reducing the number. You will reduce the number of PRH units. It prolongs the waiting time for PRH units, because if the sites are used for PRH units, for those on the waiting list, then it's instant. But if it is GSH, then green farmers will have to apply, will be selected, they will have to vacate the original PRH unit before new tenants can move in. So some academics said that it will take about 9 months. And of course, this will commercialize PRH units and fuel the speculative market. And if you allow PRH units to be sold and bought in the free market, then it will fuel speculation. Mr. K.K. Fong. I agree with Dr. Fernando Cheung. I don't like what is said on the paper, although I am happy with the answer, verbal answer of the PS. The chief executive, I believe, is better in his rhetorics. So I think PS, you will not win an argument with the chief executive. No. Mr. Leung Chi-chang, you want a division?
OK， 贊成嘅。
Those in favor, I'll read out the names. You want the bell rung? You want a division? Some have left. Let's ring the bell for 5 minutes first.
之後就做嗰個決定性嘅投票，唔係咁樣。 可以請委員翻埋位方便點數。
好，差唔多，請大家坐翻埋位方。
Please be seated for the voting.
Okay. 係。
A show of hands, please, but we will note down the names. Those in favour, please raise your hands. Raymond Wong, Fernando Chiu-hung, Lee Chek-yen, KK Fong, Alan Leong. Those against, please raise their hands. Against, please raise their hands. Ip Kwok Hiem, Lo Wai Kwok, Nang Chee Chang, Abraham Sheikh, Tony Te, Kwok Wai Keung, Alice Mack. So the motion is not carried. Thank you. Next item. Progress report on addition of lifts and escalators to existing public rental housing estates.
仲有加裝升降機啊，最後一個議程啊。
This is the last agenda item. There are two papers. One is CB bracket 1787/14 to 15 bracket 08 and 05. This is an item that carried over from the meeting held on the 4th of May. Well, we have previously visited Chiu-hung Estate to see the progress of addition of lifts and escalators earlier. That is the 10th of April. Please take us through the paper. In order to respond to a request of access-free, barrier-free access, we have implemented the lift addition program since 2008. There has been 70 lifts, 6 escalators, and 18 footbridges have been completed. 13 lifts and 9 footbridges are under progress. We're talking about over $100 million in project cost in total. We have accorded priority to locations where there is priority. The HA has decided to change the approach. The lift addition program will be changed from once every several years to a review every year. We will select new projects and identify new. We will prioritize existing projects and identify new projects. There is another regularization of an HA's program. For lifts that have been running for over 20 or 25 years, there will be a systemic maintenance and check, and there will be modernization projects introduced. I will now defer to my colleague to make use of a PowerPoint presentation to give you a progress report. Mr. Chen, please speak into the microphone. I'll first give you information about the progress report of addition of lifts and escalators to existing public rental housing estates. This is to respond to the demand for barrier-free access of residents living in PRH estates, and this is also to tie in the government policy for universal accessibility. The scope of the improvement projects. They include a lift addition program which started in 2006. Common areas will see the addition of escalators and lifts as well as footbridges to connect at grade level and elevated level where there is a great difference. And there will also be lift modernization projects. Well, next to footbridges, there will be lifts installed. Another one is a lift modernization program that started in 2006. Lifts that have been running for over 25 years, there will be systemic check, and depending on the condition, the priority will be accorded for the modernization. And there will also be the opening of lift access on floors where there was none. Well, the first phase was completed before 2014.
Including the building of 70 lifts, 6 escalators and 18 footbridges in 29 PRH estates. The total cost about 740 million. For phase 2, it started in early 2013. The project is still underway, and the project includes 9 lift addition projects. We expect that they all can be completed by 2017. In the PowerPoint, you see that the Oilman estate, we expect the project will be completed in 2016. The other one is Liking estate. The whole project will cost $290 million. Latest update. The Housing Authority has already decided that the this will become there will be annual target, and we will be adding 2 lifts in 2 public housing estates, and we are already inviting tender for feasibility studies, and they are CHEUNG estate and and we've already and Wu-King estate. We have already updated 900 old lifts, and for 2014-2015 we have replaced 105 lifts. And way forward, we have already dealt with the priority items through phases 1 and 2. We'll continue to listen to public's suggestions and then assess those requests. And if need be, we will talk to the relevant departments and the landowners regarding the land addition projects. Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Leung Chi Chung, 4 minutes. Thank you. The lift modernization program should be welcome. You said that lifts which have been used for 25 years will be inspected and to decide whether or not they need to be replaced or repaired. In old PRH estates, I think estates which have been built for 20-30 years will be redeveloped. Would it be the case that the lifts will be renovated, or are you going to replace the lifts, those lifts? And then after a few years after the lift have been replaced, the whole estate is going to be redeveloped. Would that result in any waste? So is the 25-year criterion too long? Or for these for the timetable for maintenance and repair, would you consider shortening the timetable? Thank you. Well, that was a very good question. The PRH estates are, so I think given that there is a large population in these housing estates, and the lifts are heavily used, so we may not need to replace them after the lifts have been in use for 25 years, but we will conduct an inspection. Over the last 6 or 7 years, we replaced almost 100 lifts every year. We would monitor. We will first of all consider whether or not the public housing estate has the potential for redevelopment. We've also briefed this panel before and said that eventually, even if we were to replace one lift, we will ensure that it will be used for another 6 years, and to ensure that there is no wastage. Thank you. Mr. Leung. I understand this is important because we're talking about the use of public funds here. After the lift have been replaced, I think it is only right that you would ensure that they will be used for another 6 years. But in CHEUNG Estate and Wuking Estate, you are planning to invite tender for those projects. But would there be other projects after these two PRH estates to could you also give us a list if you have one, Mr. Chen? Well, in my PowerPoints, I've already explained that for Stage 1 and Stage 2 of the lift addition project, we've already, added 70 and another 13. So we've spent more than $100 million already. Basically, the most urgent needs already been met. The Housing Authority want to convert the lift addition project into a recurrent project which will be launched annually. So we will, consider the inputs from the local residents. So we will have the scheme this year, and we'll continue to launch a scheme in 2016, 2017. So you don't have any plans for Stage 3 yet. Well, previously, each stage will straddle over a few years. Stage 2, I think, straddle a period of 4 years, covering 8 PRH estates. We are now covering 2 estates in every year, so I think it would amount to more or less the same number. Thank you. Deputy Secretary and Mr. Chen, I think we went to Chiu-hung East Estate for a visit. We were told that there are difficulties for the proposal to add a lift to the area. Have you come up with a solution to that problem yet? Let me, give you the broad picture, and then Mr. Chen can supplement. At Chiu-hung East, there is a single lift going to the shopping mall, but some senior citizens and some who are handicapped could not, take that lift, and it was suggested that we should build a lift tower, next to it, the lift there. We will tried our best to conduct a feasibility study to see whether we can build a lift tower there. But our preliminary observation is that there is the constraint, given the constraint that we need to allow for emergency vehicle access, and there is also a slope there. There is a 20-meter difference in level. So we think that the works to be carried, it will be difficult to carry out such works, and the project will also be very, very expensive. Furthermore, the total floor area in the estate has been almost fully utilized. If we add another lift to the public housing estate, we would have exceeded the plot ratio. We will have to talk to the lands department to amend the lease. So having considered all these factors, we believe that in the short term, it's not very likely that we'll be able to implement this project. So that's why we want to adopt a two-pronged approach. We want to propose that as an interim measure, we propose that next to the stairs, we will install a platform for a lift for wheelchairs, which we will provide sufficient manpower to support the operations. in the long term, other than conducting the feasibility study, next year we will be able to provide for a lift platform for wheelchairs. You will consider to build that platform for lift next year. And regarding the possibility of building a lift tower, you will conduct another feasibility study. Okay. If there are no further questions from members, I think we can wrap up our discussion on this item. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairman. I also apologize that you have to come twice because you came already the last year. So also we would be grateful if you could give us any update about Kaohsiung East if you have the information ready. If there's no further business, I think we may now adjourn our meeting. Thank you.